Hello and welcome. I am so glad you are here. Glad you found us. So last week we talked about why teams don't take ownership. And this week we're going to build on that a little further, that conversation, because one of the biggest frustrations I hear from owners is that they wonder, why do I have to remind everyone about everything? So today we're going to talk about why that happens and what we can do about it, how we can begin to fix it or get it fixed. So as you think back on last week, here's a question for you to reflect on. How many reminders did you give? How many reminders have you sent this past week? Now, these could be texts, could be an email, could be a Slack message, walk-by conversations, phone calls, etc., etc. How many? Every reminder costs leadership capacity. Think about it. If you're busy remembering to send reminders and then sending the reminders and then following up, well, let's start with what that does to the team. It makes them dependent on you, and they just naturally are going to get better and better at waiting for you to remind them, rather than having to go through the work of reminding themselves or just getting it done. Secondly, every time you send a reminder, you're using energy and decision and cognitive energy to remember to do it. And so you're using up fuel that you could be using to innovate, to think of a new idea, a new direction maybe for you, or a new product or a new way to serve your clients. It's energy you could be using to reach out, to make a big connection, for instance, or develop a key relationship. Every time you get caught in the whirlwind of reminding your team of the things they already know they're supposed to do, it's less time that you can lead. And it's more time creating dependency on you. So there's 4 reasons owners become the reminder system. Number 1 is there's no clear owner. Like, everyone assumes someone else owns it. And it's funny, I came across this as a YouTube video. I just saw this yesterday. The YouTube creator, his last name is Harkness. I want to give him credit. If you go to YouTube and search Harkness, you should be able to find him. He talks about systems and systematizing your business. And this notion of clarity, he talks about this story about 4 people. And the people's names are everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. And this story about the 4 of them explains this. So it goes like this. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have done. And that's what happens when we don't have clarity. We need to know who owns it, who's responsible for it. Now they may get support from other people, but at the end of the day, it's their responsibility to be sure things get done. Next up, no clear definition of success. What does done actually mean? I've got a client I'm working with, and call it the founder and a manager, bump up against this one pretty regularly. They create a list of things to do, and then the manager goes and does his part and checks it done. Well, it could be where, and then the owner looks at it and thinks, well, that's not what done means. And so the manager thinks he's done and is very pleased that he's completed the work he said he would. Meanwhile, the owner is waiting for completion, like it's 90% of the way there, but there's, maybe it's waiting for it to get to somebody. For instance, correspondence has been sent out, and then it needs to be, wherever it was sent, it needs to be reviewed and initialed and sent back, and then it's done in the owner's mind. But in the manager's mind, once he sends it out, it's out of his hands, so it's done. So a good example of no clear definition of success. Okay, so we got no clear owner, no clear definition of success. The third thing, no visible scoreboard. People improve what they can see. I'm reminded of, I love scoreboards because it's how we know if we're winning, right? It's how we measure our success as a company or organization, at team levels, and then as the individual. What are my KPIs? What are the key metrics that I'm being held accountable for? So a scoreboard. I'm reminded of the story, and I think it was the steel mills, maybe Carnegie. The overnight shift was habitually behind. They didn't produce as much as the day shift, and I won't get this exactly right. So if you go find the story, you know that I'm making this up. But let's just say, for instance, that Carnegie came in the evening as the day shift was leaving and said, "How many heats did you make?" And they said something like 6. And so he took some chalk or paint and drew a big 6 right in the main entryway where all the workers, where the night shift was coming in. The night shift's like, what's that number? And they were told, well, that's how many heats the day shift got. And it became a scoreboard. And then the night shift, knowing that they were walking in behind a shift that had done 6, started habitually beating that. And so then in the morning, the number got replaced with an 8. And then the morning shift came in, so what's that? So, well, that's what the night shift did. And so by keeping score, it elevated everybody's performance. Okay, so we've got no clear owner, no clear definition of success, no visible scoreboard, and finally, no weekly accountability rhythm. We need to review our commitments regularly, consistently, otherwise follow-up becomes random. So, in the example I just gave with the visible scoreboard, that was pretty basic, right? Chalk or paint on the ground. But what we need is a scoreboard for the key things. For the organization or business, it's probably 5 to 15 key metrics related to marketing and sales, related to customer service and the actual delivery of our product and or service, our customer satisfaction, etc. So that'd be kind of the operations piece of it. And then probably something on the financial or human resources, employee satisfaction and things. So in those 3 areas, and granted we could split sales and marketing, maybe there's more than 3 areas, but there's probably some key metric or metrics in each of those areas that we could put onto our scoreboard that we can review on a weekly basis to know that we are winning. So that's at the leadership, right, at the company level. We can create, call it a sub-scorecard for each department. So they know within their team they're getting together weekly and reviewing their scoreboard, making sure they're on track and on target. And then, for individuals, where's my scoreboard? For me, how do I know that I am adding value and creating positive impact greater than myself if we're not keeping track for me? So, and typically we want metrics we can measure weekly, and that way we can adjust and make proactive decisions. There will be some things that are going to be measured monthly just because the natural rhythm of it, but a lot of times we can pick things that we can measure weekly so that we are able to stay on top of the pulse and make sure that the organization is healthy. So without that weekly accountability rhythm where we're getting together, reviewing the scoreboard, making sure that our to-dos are getting done and that we're on track to make our quarterly objectives, things tend to drift. And so we need that weekly rhythm of accountability. So when we think about this idea of sending reminders and sense of accountability, I'm reminded one time years ago when I had a concrete company, there was, we were planning to, we had a pour plan. And so we'd spent a week plus, getting set up, getting forms ready, rebar tied. Maybe it was like a few days, right? And the pump showed up to place the concrete, and there was no ready mix. And so called the ready mix plant, said, hey, when's the truck gonna get here? And they're like, well, we don't have you on for today. You had it. We're like, well, we put in a will call, and lo and behold, we had put in a will call, and then one person thought the other person was going to call and confirm, and nobody called and confirmed, and so the ready mix company did not reach out. So maybe there's some ownership there, but really that was on us and the folks on that job site to make sure that they knew who was responsible, who was the clear owner that was going to order the ready mix, line up the pump truck, confirm ready mix, confirm pump truck, and then press the go button when it was time. And there wasn't clear ownership on this particular one. Ended up costing it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars to have the pump truck come out for nothing for that day. So another that comes to mind on this. So that was clarity of whose job it was. Got a customer where they thought they had a people problem. There was a lot of tension, and things just weren't going well between the folks in the office and the folks in the field. And so as they unpacked that a little bit, what they realized was there was a person who was normally in the office and in the admin side of things, who would talk to customers as a customer service, and then would go right past the field manager and talk directly to the folks out, the frontline workers. And it was leading to a lot of chaos, a lot of confusion about who was going where, and routing issues, and it was bumpy for a while. And so they were thinking they had bad people, when in fact they just didn't have clear structure on who was responsible for what and what that handoff looked like, what the communication lines were. Once we cleared that up, eliminated a lot of the hassle they were going through, and eliminated both of these with clear ownerships. It eliminates the need for somebody to be following up and reminding constantly. So, get clarity about who owns what. Make sure you know what success looks like. What does done actually mean? Create a scoreboard so you can track and measure your progress on a weekly basis. Have a weekly rhythm for meeting and reviewing, and then solving problems or opportunities as they come up. Okay, so hopefully you've got a pen and paper or maybe your notes app open, but think about the last few weeks or months or years. What's one recurring reminder that you send every week? Like, what's one thing that you just know, like, oh, I better remind them. I got to remind them. I need to remind them of that. And then ask yourself, why? What is it that keeps you in this loop of needing to send out this particular reminder? And when you answer that the first time, then ask why again. What keeps you in the loop? And then ask why again. And ask it until you uncover at what level is missing the system. Where is the missing system that we can create and put in place so that you don't have to send this reminder again, and it'll free up your bandwidth considerably. I know you're the owner or manager, right? And you're used to being the operating system, and your team's used to you being the operating system. The problem is it doesn't create freedom for you. It doesn't create an environment where your team can thrive. when you are no longer the operating system, when you have clear ownership for the roles and lines of communication and responsibilities, when you've got visible priorities, weekly accountability, and repeatable systems, now you've got an organization that can scale, that can grow, that isn't fully dependent on you for everything. You don't have to be handcuffed to the business. You can create and design it so that it can run without you. No, that doesn't mean it has to. But wouldn't it be nice if it could? Hey, if you'd like a better idea where you're at, I've got a resource called the Bottleneck Scorecard. And it takes just a couple minutes to answer a few questions, and you get a real sense of how dependent your business is on you. I'll drop that below. You can grab it. Grab the link for it. And yeah, I hope it serves you. And if there's anything I can do, just reach out. Leave a message in the comments. Let me know one takeaway that you got from today's video. Thanks so much. Hope this serves you, and I will see you next time.